This comes from Ashley from Wynwood, Pennsylvania. I was an evangelical Protestant who was received into the church in December of 2006 after 5 years of journey and the wonderful counsel and support of my cradle Catholic husband. Welcome home, Ashley. While I love the church, still much of the practice feels foreign to me. In brackets, even though I was raised Lutheran and the liturgy is very familiar. How long was it for you before the everyday practice of Catholicism felt like home?
You know, that's a great question. I was blessed to concelebrate Mass in the chapel today. And before Mass, I was, the Blessed Sacrament was there, and I was just pondering, adoring, meditating. And, you know, I said to myself, I've been in the church for 5+ years now. And I said to myself today that some of these practices still feel a little bit foreign to me. And that's just part of it, I think. I've never had second thoughts about not entering into full communion with the Catholic Church. But when you're a convert, there are things which maybe always will be a little bit foreign to you, partly because not everything that Catholics do is essential. I mean, there is a great deal of liberty and sometimes a matter of taste. For example, women are not required to wear a veil any longer. And I noticed that there were several in the chapel today that were wearing veils. Some people, when they go forward to receive communion, kneel before they do that. I think they're encouraged not to do that, but some people do that. There are different practices of adoration, devotional practices, which to me are somewhat foreign still and may never be entirely me. But what the church represents in its essence is me. That's what I've embraced. So
and there's the beauty of the church having these devotional practices, but not requiring the exact same for everyone because we're all different.
That's right.
So there's a bit of freedom there within boundaries. It's freedom to do whatever you want, but there are things that, like kneeling or genuflecting or bowing to receive the sacrament, all that's valid. But the church doesn't just say there's only one way to do it in areas that allow for our spiritual.
And in fact, Marcus, there are some Catholic parishes where I feel more comfortable, and there are others where I feel less comfortable. Some of that is a matter of taste, and that's fine. And sometimes it's a matter of obedience or disobedience, and you have to put up with some of that too. I would just add this, that when I was ready to come into the church, my bishop, Daniel Jenke, Diocese of Peoria, very wisely said to my pastor, I want Doug to wait a little bit to make sure that the Catholic ethos is something he feels comfortable with. Now, I think that was a wise thing on his part. Theologically, I was there. But when you come in from the outside, whatever other church you come into, you do have to kind of taste the Catholic ethos to see whether you can embrace it. And then, I would say this, I don't want to be offensive at all, but the deeper you get into the church, the more you have to be willing to endure things that are problematic. I mean, the closer you get to any type of ministry, the more you see things that are troublesome, that ought not to be, and you have to embrace that as well, because there's always been Judases in the church, Ananias and Sapphira's in the church.
We live in a sinful world.
That's right. So you have to take it all. And sometimes it's good to make sure you're willing to do that before you enter into full communion.